Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video I wanted to go through all of the artifacts we're going to be having for season 6 Tower of Memory, because already there are some artifacts which are really doing well in Dream Realm and also for AFK stages, and it is always interesting to know what are the strong artifacts moving into the new season. So we're going to lead off with the first artifact, which is going to be the Healing Spell. This is actually good for PvP, pretty good for PvP. Lightheal Spell. It has attack, HP, and vitality, and the effect is when an allied hero's health falls below 50% health, immediately restores 25% of their lost health and applies a protective buff. The buff increases their physical and magical defense by 20% and restores 4% of their lost health per second for 5 seconds. This effect can only trigger once per ally every 15 seconds, and this is going to be triggerable onto all allies, which is strong, and it does well with Baelran or even Talia right from the beginning of the fight, because their health is going to be below 50% and they're going to trigger this protective buff and also this immediate healing, which is really useful. And with the level ups, it's just going to increase the amount of lost health ratio. So this is a very defensive kind of PvP oriented artifact. Moving on to Manawake Spell. So we have seen Manawake Spell be the best option for some Dream Realm bosses. However, it actually isn't the best in all. And today, in fact, the top team is using a different artifact. I found out later. But Manawake still overall is solid. It has attack, health, and it has haste. 3 seconds into a battle and every 12 seconds thereafter, amplifies the magic power of all allies for 6 seconds, while under this amplification effect, increases allies' attack by 16% and their energy recovery efficiency by 10%. After the skill has been cast 3 times, the amplification is further enhanced and also increases the energy recovery efficiency bonus to 16%. And apart from all of this, the buff is just going to be higher of attack buff at higher upgrading. So this really reminds me of Blood Moon Spell, which was a strong artifact early on in Dream Realm, when we didn't have other artifacts unlocked. And also I think this is going to have great value with Galahad, because Galahad is going to be able to lengthen the duration of this effect so rather than 6 seconds, it will be the full 12 seconds and basically permanent uptime. So pretty nice attack buff and increased energy recovery efficiency. And basically just to allow the heroes to cycle their ultimates more quickly, which is useful for Shmira for pre-endless, and for endless it can be useful for heroes which are ultimate based for their major damage. Okay, now Rockbind Spell. It gives attack, physical and magical defense, and health. I haven't seen this artifact being used that much. 6 seconds into a battle and every 12 seconds thereafter, targets the 2 enemies with the highest accumulated damage dealt, dealing magic damage equal to a percentage of team attack and petrifying them for 2.5 seconds. Petrified enemies cannot move or act and take magic damage equal to 20% of team attack every 0.5 seconds. So this reminds me maybe of like Confining Spell type artifact. It has some crowd control but only onto 2 enemies, and like for AFK stages there are better options out there which can impact the entire enemy team rather than only 2, and also the fact that it's only every 12 seconds you're going to trigger this. So overall this is probably not actually going to be that great of an artifact, but we'll have to see, maybe more PvP focused. And then Blazeburn Spell. Now this is an artifact which I believe is a top choice for AFK stage pushing at the high level deficit. It has attack, physical and magical defense, and haste. Each time allies have cast ultimate 4 times, summons 5 1-tile magic circles at enemies' positions, prioritizing back to front. After a short delay, it deals true damage equal to 50% of team attack to all enemies within the circles and reduces their attack by 10% and vitality by 20 for 6 seconds. So it has a useful debuff, attack and vitality reduction, and also it is triggered every time you cast 4 ultimates, which is kind of not that many ultimates for like triggering an artifact. Sometimes it's up to 5 or even more than that to trigger it, so only 4 ultimates is good. But most importantly, the reason it's being used is for the damage. The damage is going to go up to 66% of the team attack, and this is going to be true damage, right, to each of the enemies. And so this is really important for AFK stages for boosting your damage output. And then the attack and vitality down is also kind of nice, and enemies hit multiple times take 20% less damage with each successive strike. And especially, yeah, if you have all the enemies grouped up, right, then these Blazeburns are going to keep triggering on top of that pile of enemies and gonna get repeated damage value off onto all of the enemies. So that is why Blazeburn is a strong damage artifact for AFK stages right now. Now, the Earthshell Spell. This is going to be HP, physical and magical defense, range defense. I haven't, it looks like Seismic Spell from this season, but I haven't heard about this much. When a battle starts, grants all allies a tough shell for 15 seconds. While the shell is active, allies lose 20 haste, take 25% less damage, and become steadfast. So steadfast is strong. They can be crowd controlled. And they have damage reduction. Now, they do lose haste, but it definitely is worth it to lose haste to get these really powerful effects. But this is probably a PvP artifact. When the shell expires, allies absorb its protective essence, permanently gaining 30% physical and magical defense and 15 haste. And the damage reduction up to 29%. So this is actually really strong. High damage reduction, steadfast, basically for your entire team, making them immune to control. That is really strong. I really think this is going to be probably one of the best artifacts for PvP, and I'm really looking forward to using it in teams. Then we have the Razorbeam Spell. There's attack, HP, and defense penetration. Fires a magic beam at one frontmost enemy every 6 seconds, dealing magic damage equal to 120% of team attack, and blinding them for 2 seconds. After hitting its initial target, the beam scatters to the 2 next frontmost enemies, dealing magic damage equal to 60% of team attack. Enemies with an HP lower than 100% of team attack are instantly defeated when hit by the beam. So there is an execution mechanic here. And you also have a blinding mechanic. However, it's only one target really at a time. The bounces can hit other targets, but the blinding is only on the frontmost target. And if you take a look at the maximum level, it's just increasing the damage output for the first target and the scattered beam damage. I mean, it is an interesting artifact, but I don't know how much usage this is actually going to see. And for boss content, obviously, you're not going to get value out of the execution, not value out of the blinding, not value out of the bouncing. And for AFK stages, it seems like Blazeburn is really the greatest of all time, the GOAT artifact. So yeah, I don't know where Razorbeam will actually get usage, if at all. Then we have Starshower Spell, attack, HP, and crit. 3 seconds into a battle and every 16 seconds thereafter. So a little bit of long duration. Summons a meteor shower to bless allies, increasing their crit by 35, crit damage boost by 50 for 8 seconds. At the same time, meteor fragments deal physical damage equal to 50% of team attack to each enemy, and each hit is guaranteed to be a critical strike, up to 70% of a team attack. Now, this is a really strange artifact. I'm thinking definitely leaning more towards PvP, and you're going to want to use it with heroes which get a lot of benefit from having higher crit, and then also crit damage boost. So critting based damage dealers. The only one which comes to my mind first and foremost when it comes to crit damage is Lenya. And Lenya also got a further buff this season with the Supreme Plus skill upgrade. But yeah, I don't know practically if this is going to see that much usage. And it's really, it is a long duration as well to wait for that subsequent cast. So it's really that first cast you need to take as much value out of it as possible. And not looking like a Dream Realm artifact, honestly. Okay, we have Crescent Spell. Attack, physical and magical defense, and attack speed. When a battle starts, conjures an energy orb that charges as your team deals range damage. Once your team's total range damage dealt reaches 50% of your initial team attack, the orb is fully charged and launched at the area with the most enemies, so some area of effect damage. The orb deals magic damage equal to 50% of your team attack to enemies within a 1-tile area and increases their damage taken by 30% for 7 seconds. Okay then, so increasing damage taken by 30% makes it even potentially useful for boss content. Because first, the fact that it was dealing, area of effect damage, I was thinking that it's not going to be good for bosses, but it does increase the target's damage taken by 30% for 7 seconds, which is strong. And a new energy orb is conjured immediately after the current one is launched. Because basically, what this means is, Rainier's debuff that he does onto bosses. That's 25% bonus damage the boss takes. And this artifact can be 30% bonus damage that the boss takes. And it will last for 7 seconds, and probably by that point you can charge up enough damage and get another Crescent launched at the enemy. So I think this could have value for Dream Realm. Now, one kind of issue, let's go back to Crescent Spell for a second, is that the Rainier, when he positions Shamir up to the front, then the damage that Shamir deals from that point on is considered melee damage because she's only 1 tile away from the boss. And then you're not going to be able to trigger this range damage as effectively. However, I know we use Aerostorm Spell a lot in this Season 5, and so Crescent Spell has very similar usage of that. is very similar to Aerostorm Spell, and so maybe there is usage. But Bladechaser Spell, this is the spell which is actually the best artifact for today when you're position swapping Shimira into the front line attacking the boss. So this has attack, HP, and life drain. When a battle starts, continuously channels magic to form an arcane sword. Whenever allies' total melee damage dealt reaches 550% of the initial team attack, slams the arcane sword along a 3-tile wide line that covers the most enemies, dealing magic damage equal to 60% of team attack to all enemies in its path. Enemies hit lose 25 haste, which doesn't apply to bosses, but they also suffer 28% increased HP loss for 6 seconds. And so this is actually the artifact of choice for the Dream on boss today, Gloommaw, where you have Shimira being swapped by Rainier up into the front line. And that is very, very interesting. And like, we have seen this melee damage type of mechanic in the past, because when you have Rainier swapping even a range hero up into the front, they're going to be able to trigger this artifact and get the value out of it. And increasing HP loss received by the target, like 28% increase basically from all damage sources. That seems to be maybe more effective than just 30% increased damage taken. It's hard to say. But it definitely for today, this is the top artifact. But I think for Dream Realm, it could be both of these, Bladechaser or Crescent, and even the earlier one we saw, Manawake. All of those are strong options for Dream Realm. And for Endless, when we get to Endless, which is a long time in the future, is probably going to be Manawake, because Galahad gets to double basically the duration of this artifact and provide permanent buff uptime. So buffing artifacts are better for Galahad teams. Okay, next up we have Arcanewild Spell. This is attack, physical and magical defense, defense penetration. When an ally remains on a tile for more than 10 seconds, infuses that tile with magic until the ally moves off it. But that is a while to wait, 10 seconds. Allies standing on the infused tile gain 10% attack and 25% physical and magical defense. For each tile infused with magic, allies on those tiles gain an extra 3% attack and 4% physical and magical defense, stacking up to 5 times. And I guess this is going to trigger on all of your allies, not just like a rearmost or a frontmost. This is everyone. If they are remaining stationary for 10 seconds, then all of them are going to be getting the benefit of this, and you can get bonus stacking, basically, value. But like, I mean, this is going to take a while to trigger. For PvP, 10 seconds is way too long to wait without any meaningful effect. And like in, I don't know, Dream Realm, I mean, I don't think is going to be enough. I don't think these buffs are high enough. Increase the attack bonus from infused tiles to 15%. So rather than 10%, it'll be 15%. And allies on this side gain an extra 3%. And this can stack up to 5. 5 times 3 is 15%. So it can be 15 plus 15, maximum 30% attack buff for all allies. But when you look at something like Manawake Spell, this provides 24% attack, but also energy recovery. And for all allies as well. But there is like a duration on it. But like Galahad would make it permanent, is tough to say. Arcanewild, definitely I can see the value of it for stationary heroes, and maybe even some boss content value in the future, because like 30% attack for the whole team is pretty nice. Okay, next up we have Bulwark Spell. Attack, physical and magical defense, vitality. I'm thinking there's probably going to be a PvP. When a battle starts, designates the frontmost ally as the anchor. Whenever another ally gains a shield, the anchor also gains a shield that has 20% of that ally's shield value. Every time the anchor gains a shield with shield value equal to 120% of team attack, a burst of magic erupts from their position, dealing true damage equal to 60% of team attack to all enemies within 3 tiles. So actually, no, I don't think there's going to be PvP. I think there's going to be AFK stages where you go for those shielding comps, like double Hugin comps for synergy stages in AFK. Probably Bulwark Spell with Hugin is going to be some combos out there. It's basically like... is like the Sword Ward spell that we had from this season. That's the most comparable, comparison. So true damage and bonus shielding whenever other allies get shielded. Now, increases the damage dealt to 100% of team attack. So but it is true damage. True damage is very strong. Yeah, I mean, so you're just going to want to shield that anchor as much as you possibly can. And you're going to be just benefiting a lot of true damage. And that is going to really blow up enemy teams. Like this 100% true damage each time, or even higher than that eventually. each time that the frontmost ally gets all of the 120% team attack of shielding, which with Hugin's you're going to be able to stack that really quickly. And then we have Resonating Spell. So Resonating Spell is making a comeback because it was in the season like maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago. It has attack, HP, and haste, which I think are the same stats it had at that time. When a battle starts, designate the rearmost allied hero as a resonator. Whenever another allied hero casts their ultimate, the resonator recovers 50 energy up to a maximum 1,500 energy per battle. So it's basically energy boosting for the ally in the back. However, your heroes have to cast ultimate in order to give any of this energy to them. When the resonator casts their ultimate, they enter a resonant state for 8 seconds, increasing HP loss dealt by 40% and becoming unaffected. So this is really strong, right? 40% boosted HP loss dealt by that hero and also unaffected. That is really strong. And like, I mean, but the thing is, you need to cast ultimate first. But I could definitely see Pandora into a hero in the back with Resonating Spell, and then they come out of the box, immediately casting ultimate with this massive HP loss damage dealt buff, and then also unaffected. I can see a lot of value there. Now, with the upgrades, when an ally, and any ally other than Resonator casts their ultimate, increases the Resonator's energy recovery to 70. So yeah, I think overall this effect right here, the increased damage dealt and then also unaffected, I think that's what's most interesting. Resonating, but the other energy gains are useful for like a longer fight where your team is casting multiple ultimates, because then you can get, you know, enough energy to get off another extra ultimate that you normally wouldn't have, right? So yeah, I think overall, nice artifact, but probably PvP focused. So when we recap the Dream Realm artifacts, is basically, in my opinion, Manawake, Crescent, and Bladechaser. And Bladechaser is for melee damage comps, or when you have Chimera being Rainier swapped into the boss's face, because that is considered melee damage. Crescent Spell is if you're just going for the range damage, you still do have a 30% bonus damage taken by the boss. And then you also have Manawake Spell for high attack buff, energy recovery for the entire team. So that is really valuable. For AFK stages, Blazeburn generally for that damage output is really good, and also the attack debuff is nice. Probably for some niche stages where you're going to go for shielding comps with Hugin and use shielding to kill them, you're going to have the Bulwark Spell, which has, you know, conversion. Well, not really conversion, but when you get enough shield onto the frontmost ally, you're going to be dealing high amounts of true damage to the enemy team. And then the other artifacts probably going to be more PvP focused if I had to predict it right now. I mean, the other artifact which was really interesting is the Arcanewild Spell, where if your allies remain stationary for more than 10 seconds, they're going to be getting these buffed effects of up to 30% attack, plus 20 or plus 25, and then and then defenses as well. So pretty interesting artifact for maybe some PvE content. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think about all of these artifacts. Which ones are you the most excited for, or do you have any other ideas that we failed to mention? Feel free to let us know in the comment section. But thank you guys all so much for watching, and if you think about making a purchase in AFK Journey, please use my affiliate link for the official Farlight store. This is the best way you can support me and also gain 5% bonus dragon crystals on your purchase. My affiliate link is in the description of this video and a pinned comment, and you can actually bookmark this link in your browser, and whenever you're planning to make a purchase, just return to the bookmark link and make your purchase. It will support me and be greatly appreciated. So thanks for watching. I'll hopefully see you in the next video, and until then, everyone, peace out for now.